Hi guys! So today I wanted to do my 29 and 30 week pregnancy update, and I don't have a ton of topics to cover, so hopefully I will be able to keep this short because I have a tendency to talk way too much. The biggest change I've noticed in the past couple weeks compared to pretty much the rest, well, not the rest of my pregnancy, but since I've started feeling baby move at about 15 weeks, the biggest change has been that the movements themselves and how they feel have just completely changed. So in my last pregnancy update, which was my first one as well, at 28 weeks, I had said that I feel baby moving all the time. And my definition of all the time was basically that about every hour for a minute or two, I would feel, jabs, kicks, pokes, just, prodding movements, as well as feeling maybe 1 or 2 sets of hiccups every day. Now, the jabs and kicks are less frequent. I still feel jabs and kicks every now and again, but really all day, I just constantly feel baby moving. Basically, well, I say moving, but baby is running out of space. There is less amniotic fluid surrounding the baby because it is growing. And now it's like every time baby shifts, even just the smallest amount, I feel it because I guess there's just less fluid around it to buffer the movements. So it's just every single movement the baby makes, like I feel. And this is just throughout the day, I constantly feel baby moving, and then every now and again it'll decide to give me a good kick and a jab as well. And it still gets hiccups, once, twice, 3 times a day, which is nice because when the baby has hiccups, it reconfirms to me that baby is still head down. It hasn't changed from being head down for, for weeks. I've always felt hiccups coming from down. So baby's definitely head down, and hopefully I will keep it that way. I've been very good about staying upright, not letting myself sit back. I'm just really trying to keep baby down. Another change in the past couple weeks is I'm pretty sure, not positive, but pretty positive, that I've started having some Braxton Hicks contractions. They're not super frequent, and the reason why I wasn't sure if it took me a while to realize that they were Braxton Hicks basically. And it was because when they were talking, well, when I say they, when I've heard it be talked about either in other pregnancy updates or from different pregnancy literature that I've read, they always talk about how your stomach gets really hard like a ball, and that it will feel similar to menstrual cramps. Well, I guess I've just been really lucky and blessed all my life because, I've never had any menstrual cramps. I've had like discomfort before during my period, and that's not even been often. So I didn't have anything to compare the feeling to. And the first few times I had these contractions, I thought that it was really just baby deciding to stretch out in the womb. Like I really thought that baby was like, let me put one arm here, let me put another arm here, I'm gonna get a leg down here and a leg down here, and I just felt like baby was like tensing and stretching out. And then I kind of realized it was like, that's not quite what's happening, because it's not like I'm seeing pokes where the stretching is feeling. And I realized it was actually the feeling of my uterus pulling in around baby, because my whole stomach was getting harder. And, it was happening if I'd been on my feet a lot that day, if I'd done more exercise that day, if I was just a little bit more dehydrated that day because it was either warmer or I drank slightly less water. So pretty sure it was Braxton Hicks contractions. I don't get them super often, but I have had bouts where maybe I'll get 2 or 3, not in a row, but like, because basically when your stomach tenses, it lasts, well, for me, it lasts about 30 seconds or so. And, you know, I've had bouts where I've gotten maybe like 2 or 3 in like the course of an hour or two, which doesn't sound like a lot, but then like, you know, I can go a couple days without having any at all. So I think when I have a few like in a row, it's really because I need to like put my feet up, drink more water, you know, just stop stressing myself out so much. Yeah, but it's interesting because it took me a while to catch on that that's what that was. Another update is that I'm not positive about this either. There's a lot of things that you never know until you experience it, and there's just no way for you to know if that's actually what it is until somebody else confirms it for you that is more, you know, knowledgeable in that subject. But I think I might have some stretch marks forming, which I don't really think is like a huge big deal. It doesn't bother me that much. But, and I would show them just to be like, give me your input, like, are these stretch marks or are they not stretch marks? But they're really low, like really low on my belly. They won't show, like if I just do a bump shot, like they don't show because they're below my pant line. It's getting a little close to dangerous territory, so I wouldn't feel comfortable showing it. But at my next midwife's appointment, which is like a couple weeks from now, I'll just ask her. Like, it's not like that it matters. It's just kind of like, you want to know because, well, why wouldn't you want to know? Of course you'd want to know. I guess the thing that confuses me is that they look like stretch marks from like what I've looked up on the internet because I looked up, you know, I just Googled stretch marks and looked at images. Because they're like kind of like little short, and they're in a kind of a row, little short, angry purple lines. But they're not always angry purple lines, like depending on the time of the day, or I don't know, like sometimes they're faded looking, like they're really pale. Sometimes I can barely see them, and other times they're like really deep dark purple. And it's basically right where the band of my like my pregnancy jeans and pants will like pull into when I'm sitting down. So it's kind of like where I get a lot of pressure. So basically when I've got a lot of pressure on that area, they come up purple. Whereas if, you know, like overnight, I don't have that pressure on my stomach. Like in the morning, I can barely see it. So from what I know, stretch marks don't actually change, but then they look like stretch marks. Like I feel like there's no reason for them to not, like, I couldn't understand what they would be if they weren't stretch marks. Yeah, but maybe give me your input on that, because maybe other people that have stretch marks know that they can change in appearance throughout the day, and maybe I just never have heard that before. And then the other thing that I've really been thinking about seriously, and like I am working on this week, is the birth plan. Obviously this has been on my mind for weeks, and everything that I read about pregnancy and birthing is like to educate myself to like create a proper birth, well, not to create the proper birth plan, but just to create my ideal labor in general, and then that would turn into me putting it into the birth plan, wouldn't it? So actually doing 2 birth plans, and I think that this is really important because I am planning a home birth, and I have done everything to educate myself about it and to feel really positive and empowered about my decision for a home birth. I will have a midwife, so you know, there's no reason safety-wise why I should feel like it's not a good decision to make. And, you know, like that, I don't have any worries about the home birth aspect, but at the same time, I need to be ready to go to a hospital in the event of an emergency. And, you know, if I'm going to give birth in a hospital, it's most likely because I will need to go in for an emergency C-section. Because I can't really imagine why else I wouldn't be able to have a home birth. Like you generally aren't transferred from home to the hospital just to have a natural labor in a hospital. So I'm doing 2 separate birth plans, one for my planned home birth and one for in the event of an emergency C-section. So the emergency C-section one will go into my hospital bag, and my normal home birth one will obviously just be out in my house in a nice spot, ready for when baby decides it wants to come. And I do think it's really important when thinking about your labor, like, yes, all of my intentions and thoughts are going towards this home birth because that's what I would prefer to have. But at the same time, like, to really avoid that like traumatizing experience that some people feel when they've had to have a C-section, a lot of women feel like their choices were taken away from them, or that it wasn't, you know, a lot of women experience trauma from that experience. And to me, it's really important to just be prepared for it, have what my wishes are on a piece of paper, so I don't feel like, you know, if in the event that that happened, that I wouldn't feel like I failed. Like, I would know that everything that I've done was to prepare myself for what I wanted. And, you know, if plan B is what happens, then, you know, at least it was a plan. It wasn't something that was like stripped away from me, like this choice was taken away from me and I was forced into this choice. Like, you're not forced into anything. Like, you have a right to your own body and to having the birth experience that you want. It's just about managing your expectations and being prepared for every scenario. Like, you can't be stubborn and just only prepare for one thing because that's definitely the way it's going to happen. I mean, there are so many things that can happen in labor. You never know what's going to, you know, you can only plan so much. So everything that I've been doing and reading has been to plan for a home birth, but I will still be doing a birth plan for hospital. And that was me trying to turn a short video into a longer video because that was really long-winded just to say that I'm doing 2 separate birth plans. That's it. I'm going to stop it here, keeping this relatively short. And I will see you for my next update or video, whichever comes first. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Have a good day. I almost forgot to show you guys the bump. It's like the best part, right? At least for me it is. So this is my 30-week bump, and today I am 30 weeks and 1 day. And actually, I feel like it's actually coming up on camera how lopsided the bump is, because I am straight onto the camera and there's like definitely a different appearance to this side from this side. So 30-week bump right here. And the stretch marks that I was talking about are like way down here. So that's it. Bye.